There we go. I think it's recording now. I think we've got it all together. All right. Welcome everybody to my mystery stamping on October the 14th. And you're stamping with Creative Coach Lisa. And we're going to get started on this really cute card for the pattern, and you can use it for multiple different types of cards. It could be Christmas, it can be fall, it could be birthday, it could be all sorts of things. So we'll get started for our cardstock at 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4.25. I am going to bring in cinnamon cider. So it's 5.5 by 8.5. I've got it scored here at 4.25. And then it says coordinating cardstock, embossed. And so I have a piece of cardstock here, and it's embossed with the, I think it's time worn 3D embossing folder, I do believe. So there's that. And then the next thing is a piece for the sentiment. And so I try to always do 2 pieces in case I make a mistake. And so the coordinating color that I'm using here, this was cinnamon cider, real red, and then this is Pear Pizzazz, and it's 3.5 inches by 1/2 inch. And I will also show a tip. So I have the piece here, and it's 3.5 inches wide. And I'll show a tip if you're not comfortable stamping on a 1/2 inch piece of cardstock. So I'll set this here also. And then the coordinating DSP, I am using the DSP from the Gingerbread and Peppermint 6x6. I love this pack of paper for a lot of these cute little cookie type things to cut out and different things. So I'm using this piece of DSP, and it measures 4 inches by 2 inches, and it can be any orientation because you can make your card landscape or you can make it portrait. It's a forgiving pattern. So I like doing that type so that you can do some landscape, do some portrait. That way you get a variety, but you're still making pretty much the same card. Okay, so then basic white. I have a couple pieces here. This, I am so sorry. This is 4.5 inches by 2.5 inches. And then this piece is 4 inches by 5.25 inches. And this piece will be for the inside, and this will be for images. Okay. And then for right here, I put die cut pieces to embellish your card if you like. You don't have to do that. You can do stamping or you can do embellishing. And so I like these little cookies. And so I have 2 cookies, a green one and a red one. I already fussy cutted those out of my paper. I could have used the dies, but I decided to just sit here and fussy cut while waiting to get onto the video. Let's see. And then I'm going to use some linen thread, possibly. I haven't decided, so I will set that here. And let's see. The stamp set that we're using today is the Frosted Gingerbread, and you're the icing on my gingerbread. Happy holidays. I personally would rather say Merry Christmas, but for today, we're going to do the happy holidays. And then we might do some of these little candy pieces. So I have those already mounted on my blocks over here. So I don't know where oh, here it is. Here's my happy holidays. Okay, so I have those already mounted. All right. So I believe that's all the pieces. Oh, and the ink that we're going to use is Real Red. And then I'm going to bring in some of the Memento. I have some other inks here for a second card if we have time. So I'll set those right there. All right, so we'll get started for our card. So hopefully everyone has pieces cut out so that they can create their card along with me. Do some stamping. All right, so on this piece, I'm going to go ahead and do my stamping. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my sort of on that. No, it may not. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the stamping for this and show the little tip for that. Okay. So with Real Red, and usually I get ink all over me. So I did wipe the case down because it was really inky. So I'm going to bring in, you can use any image to stamp on the inside. I like to do a little bit of extra stamping on the inside. Not always, but sometimes it just gives it a little something extra. You can do a light, like stamp off a time or two and then stamp in the middle if you have a bigger image to just kind of give it a really light watermark effect and then stamp your words. But I'm going to add this over here. Just kind of up the side a little bit. And I'm just kind of turning my, I have a little thing right there, but it won't matter. And so I'll go ahead and clean this because I have ink all over it. All right. There's that part of it. Oh, and another color that I'm going to use is cinnamon cider. Oh, see, I have red ink all over my thumb. I can't stamp without having it all over me, which is quite all right. I just don't want it on my project. So I'm going to close this for right now, and then I may use it again. Well, we'll close that, set that there. I'm going to bring in my cinnamon cider and the words, "You're the icing to my gingerbread." Ink it up well. And then just add that to the center of my cardstock. There we go. That piece is finished. I'm going to bring in the Memento to do the stamping of our sentiment. And I always, like I said, I always have two for the pieces for the sentiment, just because I have a tendency to not get it exactly straight. All right, so I like to ink this up. Like I said, I sometimes don't get it quite right. So I'm going to stamp this in the middle of my 3.5-inch piece. I'm going to hold it. That's really not too bad. So here's a trick or a tip. This is the 3.5 inches wide. you can always take, and then didn't have it quite inked up. Then you take it down here to the bottom of your piece with a straight edge. Do your stamping so that you know that it's on the cardstock, because sometimes it's hard to stamp on a 3.5 inch piece. And then you bring in like your paper cutter or something and trim it down. And then that way you have your greeting. So that's just a little tip if you don't feel comfortable stamping on a 1/2 inch wide piece. So, all right, so we've got that stamping. So we'll start putting our card together, and I'll set the inks off to the side. And if we need them, I can reopen them and we can use them for whatever we need the ink for. So we'll take our card base. Like I said, mine's cinnamon cider. And I usually have a bone folder here. And here's a tip also. If you take your bone folder and instead of doing just the crease and you take the whole, pretend this is a bone folder, and you take the whole bone folder and you go across the whole card, your card will usually lay flatter than if you just do the edge and crease like that. Okay, so there's our card base. I'm going to bring in my liquid glue. I think, yeah, this is the back. And I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to the back of my embossed piece. Remember, our coordinating cardstock piece is embossed. So I will add that there. Okay. Make certain it dries a little bit so it won't slide on me. And then I'm going to take this piece of my DSP, and this is the side that I'm going to use. That's a pretty side too, but I want to use this side. So I'm doing a landscape card. And then I'm just going to, because this is embossed, I'm going to use liquid glue. You can use our Stampin' Seal or Stampin' Seal Plus, or you can use glue dots. So I'm going to just do maybe 1/2 inch, maybe a little more right there on the side. Some fraying on the edge, so I'm going to tuck it under there. There. So that's kind of cute, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and add my piece to the inside. So it's on the inside here. It's going to go like that. So I'm going to add glue to the top here. I don't always glue it completely down. I mean, I just need something to hold it in there, and it saves me on adhesive sometimes. And it's not like an intricate, like moving part. So there we go. So that's the inside. Okay, so we'll go back to working on this. So this piece is where our image is going to go. If I was going to stamp my snowflake cookies, I could stamp them on here. But I decided to cut mine out, and I'm going to add them on here. So I'm going to add them like that. But what I think I'm going to do is do a little bit of stamping in on this background piece. I'm gonna grab a piece of scratch paper. Try to keep my work surface cleaner. I just have a piece of copy paper here I got off the printer. That would be cute without the white on there, but we're gonna still add the white. Okay, so the red, bring that back in. I got ink on me again. Okay, and I'm going to bring in those little candies that we put on the inside. I'm just going to randomly stamp them on the side here. I'll add some there because when I put my snowflakes down, I don't want it to just be bare white right there. So clean my stamp up here. It's got red ink all over it. I will have it everywhere. Okay. And it cleans up pretty well. Just stuck my finger in it again. I keep baby wipes in just for that purpose. All right. Hopefully I don't stick my finger in it again. There we go. That's how you know a card maker and a crafter. They have inky fingers. We'll move the blotter paper out of the way. So I'm going to add this now to the card front. Add a little bit of glue to the back of it. And then I'm going to line it up with the edge of the DSP. And then and some dimensionals, I believe. And put on the back of the snowflakes. All right, I think I want to do, because here's the main green accent and then the rest is red. I think I'm going to do the red with where the green's at and the green where the red's at. Pretty certain I want the points to go up and down. Trying to line them up where they're pretty even. That's really cute. And then now we're going to add our sentiment. So I'm going to bring in a pair of scissors and trying to decide if I want it at the top or if I want it at the bottom. I think I want it at the bottom. So I think I'll cut this edge straight next to the words. And then this edge, I'm going to angle with the H. And then I'll do mini dimensionals. I think the large ones would fit, but I think I'll just do this just to be safe so that it won't show. Take those backings off. Tuck it up underneath my snowflake and just add it like that. That's really cute. We could put a bow on here somewhere. We could add some little embellishments to the snowflakes, but I have my Wink of Stella out. So I think I'm just gonna like follow the lines of the snowflake. I like Wink of Stella. It's not overpowering. It doesn't give any extra thickness to the card when you're going to mail it. But when the recipient is looking at the card, the light will catch it and they'll notice it. So just adding a little bit. And I'm not being like real precise on those lines. Because it's just a hint. It's not like when you put a gem on, if it's not where it ought to be, you notice that. There we go. The camera will pick up the Wink of Stella on there or not, but I think so. So there we go. There's a really cute, simple, pretty easy to reproduce card. So that's the one that I just made. And then I made one with those, with the bells. So here's the one with the bells. I haven't added any Wink of Stella. And so I used a different embossing folder for the background. I think this one's in that, the mini catalog that ends in December. I can't remember the name of it. I'll try to add that in the comments. But it's got the stars, and then it also has the plaid. So it's a folder that does two different embossings at the same time. I wanted mainly the stars, but I liked having a little bit of this peek out around the edges. So those are the two cards for that. So those are Christmas cards. So at least I have a couple Christmas cards already ready to go for my Christmas card giving season. I doubled some linen thread and then tied it into a bow to make it like a little double bow here. And then just add it with a glue dot. So there are those. So then I also have another card where I have the pieces cut out, but I did it a little different just to give some ideas for that. So for this card, we have a crumb cake base. And I think this one's going to be the portrait, a portrait card. So here is instead of the embossed cardstock, this is a piece of DSP. So I'm just trying to show that just because a pattern shows one thing, you could always change it to do something different. And so if this is our piece is going to go as a portrait, then I want this piece to be, I believe, maybe landscape. And then I bring my other piece in like this, and then I can put my sentiment there. So that's what we're going to try to do. And then, of course, I've got my piece for the inside. So we'll just try and put one of these cards together. Let's see. Thinking about maybe using these pumpkins. Let's see if they'll fit on that cardstock. Let's see. Well, I know it would go this way. So let's try the landscape one without, I'll do the portrait one shortly without any stamping till I decide how I want to do that. But we'll do this one and do the stamping where these will go the right direction. And then I'll figure out a stamp for the other. So we're going to crease our cardstock. Like that. Bring in my glue. That's a really pretty pattern also. So just, taking a pattern and changing up some of the pieces. I want to make certain my pattern pieces are going in the right direction. So I'm just adding the layering instead of the cardstock, DSP, and then my piece of DSP, I'm adding it like I did for the other card. And then this will go here, and I have my pumpkins. I'm going to use Memento because I figure I will have to color them in. So I'm taking the ink to the stamp instead of the stamp to the ink because it's a little bit bigger. And I want to make certain I get good coverage because it's got detail to it. Cardstock in. Got glue on it there. Add my pumpkins. And then, let's see here. There's another pumpkin in, or the pumpkin leaves, a single one. Won't quite fit on. Bring in that piece of scratch paper just in case it goes off. Add that there. And then to add the vine there. Okay. That. So that's not too bad. I think I smeared it a little bit, but we'll make it look okay. And then for our sentiment, I think I want Misty Moonlight. Let's see what good sentiments we have in here. How about Gather Together? It may not be big enough, so add that there. Maybe I think it'll fit directly on the DSP. Let's just hope I don't mess it up. Okay, I'll bring in that piece of scratch paper to test myself here to make certain I can get it straight. That's pretty straight. So bring this down here. Add that to the card base. And then we'll bring in our piece of our image here. And that is where we are going to put it. So bring in some markers that I have here for another project, but we will make this work. All right. So I'll show you a little. I'm using, this is Mango Melody Light. I'm going to add it to the center of my pumpkin. And this one's kind of short and fat, so I kind of made it rounded. These others I just kind of scribbled in the center. All right, so then I'm going to take my dark pumpkin pie and I'm going to follow my edges and my lines. And I'm not being real careful. I really don't want to go outside the lines, but I'm going to add extra down here at the bottom and then up here at the top where it would be darker anyway. So I'm just filling this in. I'm just trying to show, it's just, you don't have to be real precise with the alcohol markers. They're pretty awesome. So I've added that. We'll take this here dark green, which is dark mossy meadow. I think I'm going to try. I think I'm going to do the light mossy meadow and the granny apple. You don't have to do the same the light and dark are the same color either. All right. Do this vine. Come in with my light pumpkin pie. I let this sit for a little bit, but then now I'm going to blend it in. That's the other tip. It soaks through, so I really don't want to do it right on the card. So I'm not being real precise and careful. I am going in like swirls and then also stripes, trying to blend it in. I'm just trying to give it some life to it. And if you go over it again, it gets a little bit darker. All right. I'll bring in this Mango Melody again and add a little bit more yellow to my centers. And maybe not even exactly in the same place as the last time. So I'll give that a chance to blend together. Now I'm going to bring in my granny apple and do my leaves. These are both a little bit of a dirt color, but it gives it a little bit of more definition on the veining of the leaves. I'm not certain if that's a leaf or if that was a bud, but we're going to treat it like a leaf because I've already got started. All right. So there is that. And then I'm going to come in here with, that's a dark smoky slate. Some pale papaya. And I'm just trying to ground it without really giving it a darker color to it. I'm just taking my color lifter and lifting it off this tip, and then I can go through the pumpkin because it's a darker. There we go. I'm going to make certain get the rest of the color off and then blend it out. Whoops. Flung liquid out of there. I'm just swirling where I gave it some extra color down here. There we go. Then I have some light, soft suede. I'm going to add in here for the stems. We could blend it, but it's not that big of area. But then as it dries, you can come in and just like on this one side, I'm going a little heavier. And the more that you add, it adds darker to it if you're not adding it to the whole thing. So you can blend that way also. All right, so here's our pumpkin. Add that right there. And then I think I'll pop this up. And there we go. Add a little wink of Stella to the leaves and the vines. There we go. There's a fall card. We can add some more to this because that is pretty stark white. So I like to take and add some splatter to my card front. So that it kind of tones it down a bit. You can do wait. I've never had that happen. But you can kind of do the same thing with your wink of Stella. And if that's not your thing, that's fine too. There we go. There we go. We could add like a little bow to a pumpkin, or we could just add a bow down here. There is another version of our cards. So these are with the embossing folder in the back, and this is with the DSP. So I hope you'll give this pattern for this card a try and just, play around with it and, change up some different things, you know, add some DSP where it calls for a embossing folder. Instead of doing a piece for the sentiment, add it directly to the bottom of the card. Instead of doing definite, gray or a smoky slate or different color of a shadow here. I use pale papaya because it was a kind of an orangey color, so it just radiates up like the pumpkins are maybe reflecting or something. With this little bit right here, I want to blend that a little bit better. That I don't care for that, the way that it was a stark line, so I'm just adding. I have to be careful doing this after the splatters because the splatters will smear. There we go. Hopefully that'll dry out and look nice. So there we go. There is our mystery stamping. We have solved the mystery with the clues that we had, and then came up with an alternative ending for our mysteries. So I hope you enjoy this card. I hope you'll make several of these for Christmas cards, fall cards, happy birthday cards. And I hope that this has been fun for you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.